We're live.
Yay! Hi, I'm Allyson.
I'm Kirsten Weiss. Welcome to another Facebook Live. Today we are talking about...
The Mysteries of Udolpho.
Yes, our...
Yeah, I had bought the book. I had written a whole bunch of notes about this review.
The paperback.
Yeah, it's actually a physical book. I highlighted stuff, but I forgot it all.
I don't know if you can see the glare. It's Mysteries of Udolpho.
It's a very dramatic book cover, the one I got. Guys fainting in the bed and bloody.
That's okay, because we have other
props. But so we want to start to review classic, like, gothic books, and The Mysteries of Udolpho is our first one. Because
it was sort of the gothic that started it all. So Anne Radcliffe was the author, and Jane Austen, who basically spoofed it in Northanger Abbey. Northanger or Northanger? Is it a hard G or a soft G?
I thought Northanger.
I thought so too. Anyways, if we're wrong, we're writers, not speakers. So
yeah. Speaking of sort of Jane Austen and getting wrong, so this book, they kept talking about sensibility in this book, and I always thought, like, sense and sensibility, it always didn't make sense to me, because I thought sensibility was like, you're being sensible. Apparently not. Okay. In Mysteries of Udolpho, I learned sensibility is you're being very unsensible. You have, like, these fine sensibilities. You're succumbing to emotion.
Yeah, too sensitive is kind of what
sensibility. So I had never
known
that until this book. So now Jane Austen's title makes much more sense to me.
Yeah, I actually got schooled on that by a German a year or so ago, when she explained what sensibility meant, and I was like, thank you for knowing my language better than I do. Germans, yeah. Anyways, so Gothic literature is characterized by several things. There's frequently a damsel in distress. There may be an orphan. There are frequently supernatural elements. Elements of isolation, like the hero or heroine is isolated. Elements of decay, particularly in the scenery, but it could be moral decay as well. Often a castle. Lots and lots of high drama. Curses, yes. Family curse. It could be a curse of vampirism. It could be a curse of any kind of curse. It doesn't have to be a literal curse. Insanity. Foreboding. Thank you. I can't read it my own handwriting upside down.
And extreme emotion.
And extreme
sensibility.
emotion.
So I think everything was in this except curse. And many things were repeated multiple times in this book.
We actually had two haunted castles in the Mysteries of Udolpho. So, yeah, we get big checks for pretty much everything.
Two damsels in distress, and there's men in distress as well.
Yeah, and our damsel in distress was an orphan, so that's like, doubling up. The Castle of Udolpho is very isolated.
There's two castles, even.
Yeah, I said that already.
Oh, sorry.
The Castle of Udolpho is isolated, and both the castles have rooms that are kind of shut off and with decaying tapestries and
there's
such.
that whole decaying body we'll get to.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to... No spoilers. Oops.
Oh.
I knew that chalk was going to break at some point. So, insanity. We did have an insane nun.
Yeah.
So, we had insanity. Check. Definitely tons of foreboding. And that's kind of part of the sensibility or sensitivity that the heroine is working her way through, is that she imagines a lot of things that... Like, the supernatural isn't really supernatural. There's a Scooby-Doo realistic element to it. I mean, it turns out that there's, like, a real bad guy behind it. Or some, logical... notion, but yeah, tons of foreboding what's going to happen, although she is in serious peril.
Yes.
So there's some reasons for that, and some reasons for her extreme emotions,
which I think is the theme of the book. But I think we should give a little plot. Like, I don't think it's
spoilers. Alright, yeah. Alright, so how would you
plot it out? It's first of all, it's like a 600-page book. Yeah. I was not expecting it to be this long when we're on deadlines, so it's a bit to wade through, but it's a really page-turning read.
Yeah, so the main plot is...
And I'm eating donuts, so excuse me while I eat and drink.
I wouldn't. You should never eat on video. Bad things happen.
I'm hungry.
And every politician knows you don't eat on video.
I'm gonna have one bite. I'm hungry.
Okay. Anyways, so a young woman, has a very happy childhood, but she's orphaned. Right before she's orphaned, she meets this guy,
and she's pretty old. Well, she's not
old
of legal age, but she's probably an older teenager.
Yeah. So she's not of age when she's orphaned, but she's old enough to meet somebody and get married. But she doesn't do. So she meets this guy, and
Valancourt.
Everything seems on track until her father dies, and then she's sent off to live with her aunt, I think that's actually where things really get going, which is probably about maybe 15-20% through the book, because the aunt is a real Jane Austen character, I'd have to say. She's there's this hysterical scene where she's talking about having rebuffed Valancourt's suit of the heroine, Emily. And the way she talks about it, everything's about herself. And so the way she talks about it, it sounds at this party that he actually wanted to marry the aunt. And everybody's sitting around going, really? This young guy wanted to marry you? And she doesn't get it. And then somebody finally says to her, basically, and I'm paraphrasing badly, wow, so Valancourt wanted to marry you. And she's like, oh my God, is somebody saying that? Who's saying that? I can't believe this rumor's going around. We must quash this rumor. Not realizing she's the one who actually started this crazy
that's
story.
I think where sort of Anne Radcliffe excelled, is that she was really perspicacious about human nature.
Yeah.
So like the aunt only wanted to take in Emily, our heroine, because she wanted to have like this petty dictator's control over someone's life. And so just like these little elements of people's like their behaviors and motivations, she was really on point, I think, with human nature.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of high drama and a lot of silliness, but yeah, I would agree. She nails people's characters pretty well.
Sorry, on with the plot.
Well, I don't think I want to give. Well, anyways, so the aunt. All right. So the aunt ends up marrying this Italian guy, and they are whisked off to Italy.
Away from Valancourt.
Away from Valancourt. Valancourt's been rebuffed. And things go really, really badly. The Count's trying to marry off Emily. Not the Count. He wasn't a Count. He was just the bad guy. The uncle is trying to marry off Emily to this Italian Count, and then she gets dragged off to this castle.
Castle of Udolpho.
The Castle of Udolpho, and there's a haunted goings on, and she's kind of being pushed and pushed and pushed to marry this guy, and she's refusing, and then I don't think we should, well, I don't know, should we go any farther? It's not like it's
Game of Thrones. I mean, this book has been out for 200 years.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyways, things just go really, really, really badly, yes. And there's lots of high, I don't think we should go any farther than that. Okay. So, lots of high drama in haunted castles. I mean, there's everything. She gets shipwrecked, there are pirates,
attempted kidnappings.
Yeah, and the pirates aren't even involved in the shipwreck. Oh yeah, multiple attempted kidnappings. It is like, cray-cray.
The thing I find interesting is that this is written in third-person omniscient, but you still don't know everything. Like, Emily will, like, read something, and she's, like, totally shocked and about to faint, and then she never tells you what she reads. It's, like, the very freaking last page of the book.
Yeah.
What happened.
Well, this is...
And she saw something behind a veil, behind a black veil. She pulls it apart. You never know what she sees till the very end of the book.
Yeah, this is this open loop thing she uses, which a lot of suspense writers still use today. You see it in a lot of Dan Brown novels where, he'll have to make a phone call, and then somebody will walk in front of him and interrupt him being able to make the phone call, and then anyways, so you have this information where the servant's like, I have critical information I need to tell you later.
Yes, when Ludo did that. So there's like, this guy disappears, and all of a sudden he reappears in this like weird spot. You're like, where the heck did he come from? He's like, I'll tell you all, but then these bad guys come chase him again. I'll tell you later. And you don't know until...
Yeah, this happens over and over and over.
She's actually really good at chapter hook endings. Like, there's so many times it's just like, you have to read on, because what the heck? She ends the chapter with a good hook and pulls you on.
But my complaint is, like, in today's... So the pacing in this, in spite of all the craziness that's happening, the pacing in this is, I'd say, pretty slow.
Just because of the travelogues.
Yeah, there's a lot of travelogues woven through it. She's traveling from point A to point B, and it just goes on for...
In the poetry.
Chapters. Yeah, a lot of poetry in the book. There's a lot of stories within stories. Like, when a guy sits down waiting to see if there's a ghost going to pop out at the haunted castle in his room, and so he picks up a book to read, and he's reading this story, and she has the whole story in the book. But I think, again, this was written in, the late 1700s, and so if you're, we don't have internet, we don't have TVs, we don't have whole entertainment, and so you get this book, and it's not one story, it's all sorts of stories. There's, like, stories within stories within stories, and yeah, that does kind of build the suspense. I think she stretches it out for too long for my modern sensibilities, but I can't really criticize her for it because, again, you have to look at the time this was written in, and I'm sure, and this was a huge, huge, huge book. She was, at a time when most authors were earning $10 on a manuscript, £10 on a manuscript, she was earning £500. One year she was the highest paid author in Great Britain.
Wow.
So she was obviously hitting a note with the audiences at that time.
It not only, I thought it was a pretty good page turner, although I skipped a lot of the travelogue. When it got to a long poetry section, like, Emily's looking at something lovely, and she decided to write a poem. So I skipped that. But I thought it was quite a page turner. But Anne Radcliffe, I think, was pretty revolutionary for her time. Like, it's kind of a feminist entreaty where Emily, for all her sort of fainting and spells and such. Here, this is where I find God.
Yeah, the beauty of nature. That's
Yeah.
a big theme of like not just the beauty of nature, but the morality kind of the natural world. Like if you notice in the beginning, especially whenever she talks about the peasants are always the good guys. The peasants are like having these beautiful, floral dances out in the woods, and
it's always
very
the city
spiritual.
that makes people go bad.
Yeah, the evils of city life.
Yeah, for sure.
So the man-made world versus the natural world, I guess. And the closer you are to nature, the closer you are to God or spirituality or whatever.
She was also very much against arranged marriages. Every arranged marriage that she was talking about ended in death, destruction. Something was bad. So she was very much for women having a choice in who they married.
My one complaint with the book is that I think things were a little too like it's not that every mystery is solved. You want that to happen, but like, so we have this person who disappeared and we thought was murdered, and it turns out they're this person who we happen to meet in another country, and these people happen to be inheritors of the estate for this place that we happen to have been in another country. So everything just seems just a little too pat at the end to me. But everybody gets their happy ending, which again is very. You need a happy ending in a romance.
Not okay. There was another guy who potentially could have been Emily's suitor, who was a very good man, and DuPont. I want him to have the next book of happiness.
Yeah,
he did not get his lady love.
She didn't give him a happy ending, but yeah, maybe the next book. Did she write another book? I don't know.
She wrote several books, and apparently there's I also forgot my Kindle. She had written some tract on like feminism, which I was going to read, and I forgot to do that as well. So I'll have to go read that.
So yeah, it's a long read, but this is what kind of the gothic novel that started it all. So if you are all like,
he's very generous. He always is giving his money to those less fortunate.
Yeah. So,
but just times it's like this is just like so millennial. Nothing against the millennial men of today, except kind of yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was a good fit for Emily because she was also very emoting too. So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of that, except they were both young people. And emotional, so kind of try to...
happy reunion. So they both sort of...
had to grow up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, high drama. So, high drama.
I would give this book, how would you rate it?
Out of 5.
Oh, we're doing stars?
A-. I was going to say 4 out of 5 stars, which is basically an A-.
Okay, yeah, I do 4.5 stars if we're doing out of stars.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a little awkward giving less than 5 stars because it is a classic. I mean, it's like, what right do I have to judge a classic? But I would just say...
we have every right.
For modern sensibilities, I found the pacing kind of frustratingly slow at points when she hit the travelogues, which just went on forever. And again, I thought the tie-ups were sometimes a little bit too pat at the end. Although I could kind of see, you just knew something like that was coming. But anyways, the reason you know it's coming is because she is a classic. Everybody was modeling after her. So if you're the first person who does it, then what you write is not a cliche. But then everybody, for centuries afterwards, people are writing the same stuff, and it's like, oh, it's so cliche. No, it wasn't a cliche when she did it. So, okay, maybe 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I think we can feel free to knock any classics we come across.
Well,
we're reading them for our sensibility time, so it's fine. If we hate something, we're going to say we hate it. We think it was poorly written.
Okay, so what are we reading next?
Oh, that's a good question. You wanted to do a Wilkie Collins, right?
Yeah, so what do you think? Woman in White?
Sure, let's do Woman in White. Let's hope it's not 600 pages.
I don't remember it being that long. I think it was more like this size book, not this size book.
Okay. We're Paquito.
Well, yeah, depending on how long it is, that will determine how long it takes us to get to the next video.
Yeah, we're not going to be reading Gone with the Wind here.
Yeah.
That's not gothic either.
Okay. Anyways, so
also a shout out to Eva Moore, romance author, for this recommendation for High Noon Vodka Soda. It is delightful.
Is it? I haven't tried it yet. Okay.
Anyways, go out and get the book. It's really good. Mysteries of Udolpho.
Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.